Coach, what was the biggest takeaway from a close loss on Saturday to SIU Edwardsville?
Well, we're just not consistent enough. I mean, we played pretty decent for 3 quarters, had one bad quarter, and that did us in. That was our demise. Offensively, we weren't very consistent throughout the game. Of course, they tried to take KJ away, which is smart. And at first, we did a good job of utilizing that and getting some screen roll action and getting some other kids some shots, but we just kind of got stagnant there in the 3rd quarter. And when we get stagnant, we have to get stops, and we didn't get stops. They kind of took it to us, and we allowed them to get to the rim way too easy. So I've said it all year long, our margin of error is very small. And when we don't compete for 40 minutes, it's going to be hard for us to win.
With a tough loss like that, 2 close losses to SIU Edwardsville, actually, what is the key for this week with your final 2 home games?
Well, I mean, you just got to find a way to win. I mean, you know, it's going to come down to the wire. These last 4 games are to determine whether we get to Evansville or not. So it's just going to be a matter of you know, finding that pride and finding that purpose to go out and do whatever it takes. Jacksonville State's a huge challenge for us. They're really, really big, and we struggle against big post players because we don't have any. We have a bunch of 2s and 3s, maybe a couple 4s on this team, and we really struggle against their size. But, you know, we can't make excuses. We got to try to figure out a way to score more points and try to limit their paint touches as best we can.
With the 2 home games, you have, of course, seniors who will be playing their last 2. Does the light come on for seniors, anything like that during the last week when they realize this is it, I won't play anymore after this week?
I hope so. You know, we've talked about that. We've talked about them not having any regrets when this was all said and done. You know, regardless of the outcome, if you can lay your head down at night and know that you've given and done everything that you could do, then there's nothing you can do to control it. But you don't want to look back 5 years from now and say, I wish I'd have done this, I wish I'd got more shots up, maybe played a little bit harder, maybe done a little bit more. So we talk to them about that all the time because I'm getting older, and so I always reflect back on things. And a lot of times, you know, you think, well, maybe I should have done this, and that's not a good place to be. So we talk a lot about that, and hopefully that they'll have, you know, like I said, pride is the biggest thing that we talk to them about right now is you know, pride in themselves and their team and their school, and just you can't win the tournament if you're not in the tournament, and we talk about that a lot. So it's just going to be a matter of what they want to make out of these next 4 games.
This is obviously the return with Jackson and Tech. You guys had kind of a tale of 2 different games on that trip. Jacksonville being really, really tough. Got out to a really, really big lead early on. You guys never could come back. And then with Tech, that game, you guys had a slow start and then came out with a pretty big win. What have you guys learned maybe from that trip to now that will help you guys in this week?
Well, every game's different because basketball is a game of matchups, and we match up better with some teams than we do others. So there's really not a whole lot. I mean, you could take the effort every single time and the attitude. There's certain keys to success that you have to bring every single game. But as far as comparing Jacksonville State to Tennessee Tech, that's kind of apples and oranges because of the different style of play and the different matchups that we have against them. But the bottom line is when we've been successful this year, it's because we've done the things that we've tried to instill in our kids since day one that you have to do to be successful to win games. You know, the team changes, the opponent changes, but the formula never changes. We saw on Thursday night when we put that formula together, we could play good basketball, but we have not been consistently doing that all year long, and we're running out of time. You know, the time is now if we're going to step up and we're going to make something happen these next 4 games.
Did you think at any point after the game Thursday that the light came on?
You know, we were hopeful for that, but you know, it's easy sometimes to play when all the shots go in and everything goes your way. And sometimes when it gets hard, we haven't shown a great deal of toughness this year. And I feel like that at times when things get hard, we back down more so, and certainly not the personality of a basketball team that I want. And we just talked about being tougher. I mean, these next 4 games are going to be extremely tough. There's a lot on the line. Every possession is going to count. And so it's going to be a matter of see how much pride and toughness that we could bring to the game. But I think that there's been glimpses all year long of what this team can do. We just have to pull from that, and we have to hope that everybody's on the same page and that everybody has the same goal, and that's to get to Evansville.
watching it from afar, it just seemed like that after they got the big lead on you on Saturday, at the beginning of the game, being able to fight back and get that thing back to a 2-point game going into the break, it just seemed like that maybe things were starting to roll in our favor.
Yeah, I mean, we showed Saturday night. We showed fight at times, but again, in this league against league opponents, you have to be consistent for long periods of time, and you're not going to play a perfect game for 40 minutes, but you got to consistently give effort for 40 minutes, and we just have lapses in which we maybe take bad shots or we don't execute like we should offensively. And then a lot of times with this team, when things aren't going well offensively, we tend not to give as much effort and do as much as we need to do on the defensive end of the floor. And it has to be just the opposite of that. You have to control the defensive end of the floor and the defensive backboards. We can't help whether the ball goes in every single night, but your effort and your willingness to play hard on the defensive end for your team has to be something that you bring every night. It is not only a team attitude, but it has to be an individual attitude that I'm going to guard this person and I'm going to make it hard on them, because that's what they did to us Saturday night. They decided to guard her, to guard KJ, and they made it hard on her. We have to have that mentality and take that attitude to other teams.
KJ scored in so many different and efficient ways on Thursday. I was able to see some replay and see a box score, but how does a team like SU, Edwardsville, or anyone really take KJ away? How can you do that? Because many teams haven't been successful this year.
Right. Well, her performance on Thursday night is probably the most efficient offensive output I've ever seen as a coach or watching a team or anything. She was just so efficient in the way she went about it. I mean, anytime you get close to a triple-double, you're doing a lot of good things. Saturday night, they basically just had somebody face guarding her. I felt like that there was a lot of things done to her that most basketball games that I watched, not legal guarding position, not guarding her in a legal way. But when it's determined how they're going to call the game and what they're going to call and what they're not going to call, we have to adjust to that. We didn't do as good a job adjusting as to it as we should have. But she's going to have to realize that that's going to happen, and we're going to talk about that today in practice, and we're going to try to put her in a different position to help her teammates more, and her teammates are going to have to step up because, anytime you come off a performance like that, anytime you look at our stats and you see where the majority of our shots are coming, people are going to get smart and people are going to play that way. So it's my job and our other players' job and her job as well to figure out a way to be successful in that instance.
Coach, talk about you have an alumni week kind of this week, an event to honor one particular team. I know it's something you take a lot of pride in the program. You want to do this continually, and talk about the event.
We're really excited this week. We're not only having one of our assistant coaches, Amber Guffey, inducted into the Hall of Fame with a very prestigious class. We're very proud of her and what she's meant to this university and what she means to our coaching staff at the present time. But we're also bringing back the 2007-2008 OVC championship team, NCAA team, to honor them because I think sometimes, often, maybe on this side, we tend not to celebrate enough of the accomplishments of not only individual players on the women's side, but also teams on the women's side. So that was one thing when I got the job that I wanted to do, is I wanted to bring alumni back because there is history. There's not as many championships as we'd like, and we're trying to work on that. But those teams deserve to be recognized. Those players deserve to be recognized and to understand that they brought a lot to this university when they were here. We've got a lot of academic All-Americans that have come through here, and just great basketball players and great people. So we're really excited to bring them back, not only to celebrate the team, but just to celebrate the fact that at one time they wore a Lady Racer uniform, and that's something to be very proud of.